Hello, welcome to Daily Wellbeing with Gemma. Today I want to talk about something that I've heard termed as planting your flag. And I guess you could look at that in the context of, say, video games, where once you've achieved a certain milestone or reached a checkpoint, the little flag goes down and that's the place you return to. You never go back further than that. You can look at it, I guess, like climbing a mountain or going on an expedition where once you've reached so far, you put your flag down and make camp, ready to move on a little bit further. And so the idea of this one really is about noticing progress and kind of telling yourself, there's no coming back from this bit. I've come this far and I can only keep going forwards. So I think this is really interesting to talk about now, because over the lockdown, our sense of time has probably changed quite a little bit. It might be that all the days blur together. It might be that some things seem to go really fast. It's hard to believe in some ways that it's been 2 months, but at the same time, it's felt really slow. So how can it feel fast and slow? Time is weird. And so over that time, we might not really have been giving ourselves credit or noticing the achievements that have happened along the way and the ways in which we've grown and made progress. So you can use this kind of idea process outside of lockdown as well. You might want to look at the past year. You might want to look at your lifetime. You might just want to look at lockdown. But I want us to really focus on that progress and to engage in a bit of self-care, really, and to give ourselves credit, because we're doing amazing things every day, just by showing up sometimes, and recognising that can help us to make the next part of the journey. So have a little think about what time period you want to focus on, whether it's the last week, month, lockdown, year or lifetime. Whatever works for you, depends what kind of scale you think in. And I'd like you to have a little think about some of the milestones and achievements that you've had in that time. It might be projects you've completed, things you've done, crossed off your list, things you've learned, challenges that you've faced. And see if you can list as many of them as possible, or maybe think about them, journal about them. Looking back now on those things, how do you feel about them? Because often when we're in the middle of that task, goal, challenge, learning process, it feels really big. And to look back on it, you can kind of feel quite proud that, wow, that was really tough at the time and now I'm here and maybe now it's easy, or maybe now that I've done it, I'm thinking about the next thing, or maybe it's had a wider impact than you realised at the time. Now that time's passed, maybe you can see how whatever that thing has created a ripple effect. So take some time to notice that. Sometimes there are things that go on that are more challenging, or we might even label them as failures. Now, I don't necessarily believe in the word failure. I know that sometimes we might not achieve what we wanted to, but if we're learning from it, then it's not really a failure. So maybe there are things in your time period that you're thinking of that were a real challenge, that didn't go the way you wanted. But again, plant your flag, have a look at, okay, what did I get from that? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about others? What did I learn about that task that helps me kind of ground, so that from then on I did things differently, or I was able to move in a more positive direction? And just take some time to feel good about the fact that you had that experience. I find that sometimes the challenging experiences are the ones that I'm more grateful for, because they become a big part of who I am. And so you might find that that kind of thing happens for you. In looking back on your time period, you might also want to have a look at, were there any changes in the path? You can start out your expedition thinking you want to go one way, but suddenly discovering you want to do something else. Maybe there were key pivots or events that made you want to change your mind. And what did that tell you about yourself? Did you learn a little bit about your goals, your passions, or your strategies? Sometimes you might not even cross off a particular thing. You might not achieve it or fail it, but just be still working on it. And so it can be a little bit harder to give ourselves credit for those things. We're very good at giving ourselves praise for finishing, but not for the process of just keeping on persevering and doing. So you might want to ask yourself, what's still in progress? And how can I be grateful to myself? How can I be, find ways to show myself that I'm proud of the things that have gone on so far that I'm still working on? So I hope you find that interesting, and it was probably a good thing to journal about, or maybe even find a creative or arty way to express. Because when we look back on things, it can really give us some new perspective for how we want to be in the present and how we'd like to move on in the future. So I hope that's interesting for you. And the final thing about planting your flag or the checkpoint is that the idea is that you never go backwards. You can never be the same person you were in the past because you've learned new things, you've tried new things. Even if we were transported back in time, we'd make decisions based on who we are now. And that's quite exciting, really, because that means that we're always moving forward. So no matter what's gone before, you've come this far. Be proud of yourself for that, and just work out how do you want to be going forward. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.